getting a little bit through the start of this. So I always like talking about win conditions, and I'd like first to go over that again. It's just something that I think is really important, and every comp is slightly different. So the team that you have is basically a full assassin and pick team, and it falls off as the game progresses. Everyone here has some sort of disadvantage because Vayne is really good at picks, but if they group up, you're not going to get the pick. Zed might be able to pull them to the side, but actually he probably will still be able to split push against some of these people. It just depends upon how Teemo does and what he builds, but I still think Zed would be able to split. Overall, though, I think your group is going to be a bit more challenging to work with, especially if you fall behind. But your mid game is very strong. Uh, and your strategy then should be kind of focused around your mid game. Uh, Morgana is good for picks, but judging by like who you're going to need to get ahead, uh, I don't think that getting ahead the Akali is going to do a whole lot in this matchup if Ryze plays it correctly. But I don't know if he will. Akali might be able to still get on him and kill him at if she gets fed, but he should be able to root her and get away. Zed, again, the Teemo matchup, should be able to do a lot if he gets ahead. Lee Sin in a Warwick matchup, I don't think that that's going to be good in the past 15-minute mark, but pre 15 minutes, he should be doing a lot of work in the jungle. And your bottom lane matchup is pretty interesting because you lose out in poke and you lose out in mid game, but you scale about the same, I think. Well, that's kind of an opinion thing. Um, Wait until I see what you build. All right, well, we'll see what happens. My goal would be this game is trying to set up for the Zed to split push because that is your win condition in the mid game. And if you can't do that, then somehow you got to let the Lee be able to do it. Because if the Lee builds a Sightstone and is able to keep his pressure on this side of the map and helps win this matchup, then you should be in a good spot. You can do that just by not needing the jungle pressure bottom, but and that could be where your wave management is and how you can track the enemy jungle. So there's only a few things you really can do early game because again, I don't think that getting the Akali ahead will play a huge be a huge part of this lane. Um, and your lane, if you get fed and you can always engage on them, then it's great. You'll be able to kill them 100 times. But they have really good poke, and you shouldn't ever be in a position where you can engage. You're Morgana, so if you land some nice snares, you might be able to go in, but you have to do that early or else you'll just get poked down. hmm So the subpar ADC, that's something that you kind of mentioned. That in this matchup, Vayne is going to lose early. Unless she's a lot better than the enemies, she is going to lose early. Just because the Lux can poke and you really can't. And the Ezreal can poke and the Vayne really can't. Just because of that nature of the lane, you're going to be losing early. Um, Sometimes that's enough to make your AD carry look like they're bad, but once they like get hit by everything, so like every Lux binding and just instantly die, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. And we'll talk more about that as it plays out. Right now, you shouldn't be expecting your Vayne to be bad. So your strategy early in the game should be somehow managing the wave so that you don't ever need your jungler to gank, trying to avoid poke, or go in early with a Morgana snare to the point that you're not poked down. Uh, and again, you shouldn't really get that opportunity, but if it's there, you should look for it. And somehow trying to set up for the Zed. There's not a whole lot you can do for the Zed early, again, because you're just not on that side of the map. But your only real option is to prevent the Lee from having to worry too much about you guys. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, that was really weird. Okay. And I'm going to turn your volume up real quick because it's actually kind of hard to hear you. So give me 1 second. How do I do that? User settings. I was trying to right-click your profile, but that's not the same as the channel. It doesn't have the volume setting there. So I'll just use, yeah, I'll just use volume mixer. Uh, oh, I see it. I see it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. There we go. Okay. So far in this lane, even though you guys got that poke off early, you can see what's kind of happened already. You had that really early trade, but this is only going to get worse. And you know, they even are a level down and they still managed to get a third of your health for like a quarter of theirs, and all of that was from your initial trade. So that's the nature of this lane. There's nothing really bad about this. It's just proving what I was saying earlier. That's not a bad idea what you were doing. You had level 2. Walking up and looking for that is great. If the Vayne was faster, that would have been at least a summoner spell with Condemn. But for some reason, she leveled up her Silver Bolts. That's kind of unfortunate. You did the right thing there. That was a good play. And this is again a very good play. Yeah, very nice, very nice. So whenever they go in on your AD carry like that, you had a clean shot. You're always trying to keep yourself in a position where you can get past the minions. So you're doing pretty well with getting these skills, getting these skill shots in. So you're doing a pretty good job as Morgana. Um, okay. So this is misunderstanding something very important. Whenever I was talking to you about where the jungler should be, whenever you walk away, there is absolutely no reason for you to be warding here. Reason number 1, reason number 2, and then the timer. So as soon as you push this out and your ward is dying, you walk away for absolutely no reason and let your AD carry get engaged on. Because you're going to ward, right? That's why you walk over here? This is bad. Yeah, there's absolutely no reason for you to be walking up there. And if you weren't walking over there, the Ezreal wouldn't have been able to engage like that. And even though the Ezreal died here, that was a serious misunderstanding. Absolutely no reason, which means you're not watching the map. Timer by itself should have been enough for you to not need to ward that. But you also saw the Warwick up here, and you saw the Ryze was middle, and there was no reason for you to need to do that. If your AD carry isn't recalling here, you need to help them push this. Because they're just going to die in this situation. The Vayne does not have heal, and if I was the Lux, I'd look for a flash Q, and I'd look for just an ignite auto or something like that. The Vayne would die. The Vayne should not have stayed here, so there's two options. You stay and you push, or you ping her back. Well, then you need to stay. Again, that if they're not listening to you, you need to make it safe. I like this. I like this a lot. I like that a lot. That was actually a really nice roam. Whenever you went up mid like this, you not only warded mid, which is going to help this lane quite significantly, but there was no reason for Vayne to need you immediately because the wave was pushing into her. You picked a very good time to roam here. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but this was a very excellent time to roam. Putting a ward here is slightly less necessary, though. You might have been doing this just to look for the a ward to make sure it was safe. But because you ward here, it's more likely to die and less likely to catch out a gank. Because the Warwick's going to be really fast when he comes through here. He's going to be using his spell already. So if you're trying to get a ward, you need to get ward further away over here. This is safer for the ward itself, and it's going to prevent rotations from the Ryze, and it's going to give more time for Akali. This ward could have been over here, and I think that this is a slightly better spot. Oh, okay. Well, it's the bush in the center of my screen right here. Ward this one. Um, yeah. But you picked a very good time to roam. Your posturing is still really safe. I would be looking to play a little more aggressive when watching cooldowns. Uh, Typically, you can guess what people are maxing by how much damage a spell does. So that is probably a level 1 E. So she probably has all of her abilities right now, one in each point. That's essentially then like half of her damage that the Lux has already put out, right? Doing this is what you want to do, but you want to hold your spell for a bit because as soon as you throw that out, you now have to play safe again. There's a way you can threaten an ability without actually having to throw it out, and it makes it so they have to respect you and back off of a wave. See, there's nothing you can do to this fight because you've already used your spells, but earlier, you see how you're positioning, like, let's see. I wanna give this an example. So you back off here, you're far away, so there's absolutely no way you can return damage if they went onto the Vayne. And this is something that I would look for if I was the enemy team to trade onto the Vayne. I know your idea is you're not wanting to stand next to her for Lux's E, but you're not within range either way. Whenever you back off this far again, it gives them more to work with, more space to work with. Try and walk to the side more. You still could have stayed behind minions from the Ezreal because you still had this melee right here, but you would have been closer if they came in on you guys. Your lane is better at all ins, as I said, if you have full health, but otherwise you're just going to get poked down, and you see they have full health, you guys are starting to take chip damage. The only way you can prevent this is by having aggression and being ready to turn on them. If you don't position yourself to turn on them, then you're only going to get these cues like what you just threw out that are going to be when they're running away. They've already traded all of the damage they want to do, and they're walking away. And that's just positioning. You're not in position to trade whenever you're standing that far away and running further away. I would not have done that. If you're again paying attention to spells and cooldowns, the Lux did use her Q here. Ezreal still has his E. So Ezreal is going to have a way out. And, oh no, he just used his E. Okay. Yeah, Ezreal did use his E. Lux's Q, though, is probably 4 seconds out here. Yeah, they should have lived that. Let's see again. Should they have lived that? Hmm. I guess there wasn't really a way for them to live that because they still were in range. I I still think that was a really ballsy play. I'll give it probably a 6 out of 10 though. I'm probably wrong here. Huh? Well, it's basically like saying a 4 is something that I think would be a bad idea, a 5 is passable, and then whenever I go up to 10, you're a professional. So I think that that overall was a good play, and it was something that I just wasn't noticing. So yeah, I think that you did fine. It was just something I wasn't paying attention to. So one of the things that you're doing this game, this is the second time you've recalled out of sync with your AD carry. Whenever you do that, you give them a window to engage on your Vayne. Now, they don't necessarily seem like they were trying to do that right now, but the same situation as last time. Lux has Q and Flash, and if she lands just that, it's pretty sure that the Vayne's going to die. And the Vayne really wants to stay, so she should get zoned out of these. Yeah, now she's going to miss half of a wave at least. And this is something that she was probably waiting for the cannon wave to recall. So she only really wanted to stay one more wave, and you could have backed in sync with her. She lost half of a wave because the time you chose to recall. Okay. So you may not have been really paying too much attention to it, but it's been 7 to 8 minutes right now, and the Lee still hasn't come bottom, which means you guys are doing your job by not requiring the Lee to come down here, and they're actually doing what they should be doing and focusing the other side of the map. You got snared. Let's go back and look at this. But you're doing what you should be doing right now. Doing pretty well. Hmm. Okay. You're really aggressively looking for that. I don't think there was any way that was going to hit. And now this follow-up chase, you are within range. I don't really know. Okay. Hmm. You're getting some good roots off. I'm not expecting a lot of these. For the start of this play, you do see Warwick top. You don't know where Rise is, though. Rise is still alive. And you see this dive happening. This is pretty risky. I probably would have pinged the... Yeah, I probably would have pinged the Akali off, or waited till we had minions to the turret to dive that. I don't think it was ultimately that bad, though. Lee Sin's the one pinging this. You should be seeing it by yourself. Uh... Mm, okay, so you shouldn't have even looked for this. You shouldn't have looked for this at all. Whenever you see the Warwick over here and you go to ward, don't even ward. Just walk away. Because whenever you go to this bush, maybe Warwick had turned on his movement speed thing a little bit earlier, and he could already have been right here. And then he could have been going in on you guys. I don't think the Vayne just paid attention. Um, I would have just continued walking away myself. You did end up trading 2 for 1, but I think you should have just walked away. Okay. Hmm. Another trick is if you think that the Warwick's going to jump on you guys, you could spell shield yourself and just make sure you walk between you and the Vayne. So if you warded this and then spell shielded yourself and started to walk out, she might have still gotten rooted by the Lux, but you could have held your Q as the thing. Because then the Warwick could not jump on you because he wouldn't root you. And if he started just walking to you, you would be able to get a free root on him. I don't know how much that would have changed anything, if at all, because again, the Vayne did get rooted by the Lux, but in your spell shield prevented that. Um, so ultimately, think it still would have been the same. So what are you building? Zhonya's first. Uh, I would be getting Sightstone before Zhonya's. Zhonya's is a great second item, though. Okay. So what part of this was the subpar ADC? Because they're doing their job. They're auto attacking, and you're doing your job. You're, mopping up these guys. This game wasn't a stomp. At this point, this game bottom lane is a stomp. All right. Well, that was unlucky. They definitely overstay. That's something that I would give them. You look for another flashy play. Uh, I think again, since you did this, you look for this play as often as you can. It seems you look for the flash Q. Uh, be a lot more careful with that. The biggest thing that you should be thinking about is what are you going to get after this, and what could you get after something later, right? If you managed to root them, you would get the tower. But if you just pushed this into their tower, you could get the tower. And then they have no tower to run behind, and then you can flash Q them, right? If you saved your spell, you could not only get to this tower anyways and take this tower just by pushing the wave, but you could zone them off of it with your flash, and then you could flash kill them after the tower was killed, or if they just overstepped. You still could have done that play, but you're looking for it too early, which means you're probably just saying, oh, I have my ultimate off cooldown basically, I need to go in. Whenever you look for this, you don't even really have an advantage. The fight was just turned against you, and like, you see, if the Vayne had gone back in on this, Ezreal probably had Q. I don't know what Lux would have had up. She might have had her Q up in 2 seconds or something. But, see, there was no way you would be able to dive that, because even if you landed one of these, they had heal, and they had a lot of damage. They would have been able to probably turn it on at least one of you, or you would have had to have... you might have killed one of them. But you wouldn't have been able to pursue that for the second kill. You still would have been zoned out a little bit. See, you were able to get that root off later. It's not like you needed to rush the root. That's the exact same fight, essentially. I would be using your W to push the wave instead of trying to harass with it right now, because you just need to get this to the tower and get a few autos on it. Save your Q. Whenever you throw your Q out like that, you remove any ability you have to siege. You no longer can siege because now you essentially have no damage. And this is why I said Sightstone early, because now you're getting ganked. And you did have a signal that he was coming down bottom. You know what that signal is? Well, actually I thought he would have been top because of the map thing. So, never mind. I do know that he probably cleared his blue around maybe now, and then he would be looking to go top because it's turning yellow. But instead, he's at base. So, of course, I'm very wrong. I would expect him to be top. But judging by how you guys just constantly siege like this and get nowhere, maybe they asked for him to come down. This is what you would want to do, be hitting the wave. The Vayne overstays again. You hold your spell shield. Yeah. Small mechanical thing of holding your spell shield. Ooh, and you held exhaust actually. Maybe that's a bigger thing. And then you chase it? Okay, that actually, this fight now is worth talking about. I was just going to run through this and just be like, yeah, stuff happened. But, okay. So for the start of this fight, problem 1 is the warding thing. You have 2 wards in this bush, which means, for starters, you're not coordinating. And beyond that, let's see. You've been on this tower for a long time. I've told you what I think is a good and safe ward. So whenever you see the Ryze mid, you can probably walk in here and get a ward while they're under tower, but you need to make sure you tell your Vayne not to die. So maybe you wouldn't have that opportunity because your Vayne's been ignoring pings and stuff. I don't know how deep you would be able to ward with how your Vayne has been playing because they ignore pings and they overstay. Maybe they'd get engaged on. It's tricky. It's tricky. But I still do think Sightstone would have been more important. I don't know why Vayne overstays. Her reaction time is like 4 seconds. And you know how you're holding Spell Shield and you're waiting for him to do something? Again, with what I said earlier, if you had Spell Shielded yourself and then stood between you and the Warwick, or the Vayne and the Warwick, you would be able to prevent him from ulting her. You should have been backing off anyways. Why would you really want to turn on this? He has a lot of mana and still has flash. She doesn't have a lot of mana but has enough health to trade. I wouldnn't be looking for this. Exhaust the Warwick here would have probably helped a lot. You still should have been able to exhaust it. Yeah, I think the biggest mistake here is actually that exhaust. If you had exhausted him early, I'm fairly confident the Vayne would have been able to live. Because if you look at what the sliver of health Warwick probably did 300 of that damage. If you reduce that by 40%, she has an extra auto of life. You could have rooted, the Vayne walks out. Now the Warwick's dead, the Vayne's alive, you're alive. I'm pretty sure that the biggest misplay here is the exhaust. This is just, I think you were tilted with him living. Um, you don't want to chase for kills, especially after you just miss your root. There was no reason to go in here, and that's not even a hindsight thing. You were probably just tilted. The real thing that you need to know is you got to exhaust earlier in situations like this where this Warwick was diving. You could have saved Vayne's life. I'm fairly confident you could have saved Vayne's life over here. And then there was no reason for you to be looking back in on these kills because your cooldowns were definitely not up. Your cooldowns were definitely not up. You should have been walking away after that wave regardless. So for you to be turning in onto this was ridiculous. Are you waiting for that Zhonya's? Oh, you got Mercs? Yeah, I guess Mercs are okay. Yeah. I think I'd get Mercs this game too. Because Teemo's AP makes a lot of sense. Okay, this is weird. You're really not watching what your team is doing. Uh, so I think the biggest thing to pick up this game is your awareness so far. You're not aware of where your team is. You're not aware of times to go ward because you're not watching the map for like where the Warwick was that other time and the Ryze was. And you're not aware of recall timers where the Vayne's staying in the lane and you decide to leave anyways. So all three of those things are kind of chalked up to awareness. The positioning thing that you have is working out because, you know, especially like right now, you don't want to look for the fight, but you position yourself so that you can't typically trade until after they're done. Here's another awareness thing. You walk completely away while the Vayne's looking for the fight. I'm not saying that the Ezreal would have won that because apparently he didn't, but you're really leaving your AD carry alone a lot. That's the second time at least. You're always looking for those flash plays, and you're not thinking about what you can get later or what you can do with it later. You're only seem to know that one play, which is flash Q. You have more than just that. You can use it to zone. You can use it after you get the tower. You can use your W to wave clear so you can get a bigger wave on the tower. Akali and Zed have role swapped. I guess it's because Teemo got Zhonya's. Maybe. And then you end up mid. If I were you, I'd be going top. Yeah. Again, look at this. Look at this. Do you see how you do this every time you have it off cooldown? You don't need to do that. Your team isn't even there yet. You just flash away. It seems like you only know that one play because it worked out that like first time, right? You do that 3 times, which means you're just wasting your flash essentially. Because you end up having to wait for your team, and that Q that you landed goes to waste. And now you have Zhonya's, right? And you decide to walk away from the Lux. You could have probably walked in here a sort ways, Zhonya's, let the stun hit her, and then Q'd whenever you came out of Zhonya's and killed the Lux. So, but you don't. Of course, you didn't have flash to get out, so maybe that's what you're worried about. Again, not watching what your team is doing. You just go in by yourself. So far, I wouldn't say Vayne is subpar. Do you see how she's getting kills in other lanes? She just 2v, she killed a tower and killed Ryze. Okay. So, right here, you're doing a pretty good thing. You did the right thing coming up top. I think that going top was the right idea. You start looking over towards the Warwick. It's too late for the Vayne. Maybe that's what you were talking about, how she goes in by herself. Well, let's look back. Every play has a setup, about 3 minutes. So at the start of this play, the first thing I would have done is I would have warded over here. I would have warded over here because you know that the enemy, you just saw them up here. You know that they're going to be coming down for this. 100%. See? Coming down for this. You then would have been able to spot out the Ezreal if you had a ward over here as well, right? Not just the Teemo, but the Ezreal. Coming down to this fight, you do the right thing by going this way, I think. I probably would have been on the top side because I just warded. Vayne's still not coming over. Let's see. Do you have your ult? You do have your ult. You have Zhonya's, but you don't have flash. I probably wouldn't have looked too much for that until I landed a root like what you did here. But then I would have probably gone in on the Teemo with your ult. You're holding your ult a lot for no real reason. Zed is running the fuck away. Okay, this is really weird. I don't really know why the Zed's running away. And if you're worried so much about your team leaving you, right here I probably would have flashed in and ulted. If you had flashed in and ulted with a spell shield on yourself, there's nothing they can do about it. There's no way they're going to kill you in time. You're going to be able to kill the Warwick 100%. Because the Zed's still here. Just going to take like an auto Q from the Zed and your rotation to kill the Warwick. You then probably would have been able to turn on Teemo, and one of you probably would have died because the Ezreal was also here that we didn't know about at this point. But that's probably what I would have done early. The way you kind of hold out and you wait for this play to happen, we then see the Ezreal, and that's probably what the Zed's running from. He's probably trying to run from the Ezreal. Vayne does end up going in by herself. But because I saw the Vayne over here, my goal then would be trying to prevent the Teemo from grouping with the Warwick. So you're trying to peel for the Vayne? Peel for the Vayne by keeping the Teemo there with your ult. Because you see, they're all come over here. And now she's blinded and feared and everything. The Teemo didn't play a huge role in that, but he did get the kill, so he was there. You could have prevented him from getting there. Man, your Zed is so scared. What? Nothing really for you to do here. I don't know why you're staying like this. Don't know where the Ryze is. These two guys are full health. This is your team. He's doing Wolves. He obviously isn't going to help you. Your Zed's probably not going to help you either with the way he's playing. And Warwick, he probably based. But you see, you're in such a dangerous spot. You should die here. You really should die there. And see, you're not going to be able to get... Okay, maybe you are going to be able to get something. It depends. But there are... See, this wave would have been a more important thing to be trying to push. Whenever you're kind of just over here dancing around, you got kills, but it seems like you're not grouping for an objective afterwards. So you literally only got kills from that. And you see the Zed kills someone down here, but you literally only get a kill for this. There was no reason to do that because the Rise was going to go bottom. He was either going to come and kill you over here, or the Rise was going to go bottom. You're trying to stop them from recalling? No. Yeah, because see, Rise is down here. He was stopped anyway. Yeah. And if you were pushing this wave, you probably would have been able to get this tower. So you're trying to prevent them from stopping a push here. Push somewhere else then. This is going to create the same amount of pressure. If they recalled, you let them recall, right? You just get this turret instead. But now you have like a minute where your team's stalled out, not doing anything. And there's no reason for you to be bottom here. Baron is up, and your team, your AD carry is top lane. You're setting up for a Kali split push, which already had wards. There was no reason for you to be bottom. So that's a wasted time. You should be setting up for Baron 100% right now. And I would drop a ward over here. See, this is what happens because you have no setup. You don't know that there's 4 people here. And you have no setup because you spent your time down here setting up. There's 5 people over here. You guys took a really disadvantaged fight. This played out really well for you guys, but it shouldn't have. You then chase alone. Don't chase alone. There's no reason for you to do that. So, the setup that you do, right? That ward, what play does this set up right here? Right? Just think about this. Because your team needs to be focusing the top side of the map. That's why you came up top later. And Lee, even though he has knowledge of the Lux, is not going to play this any differently. He's still going to try and finish the dragon. So that ward, that knowledge, didn't do anything for us. Did not change the way we play, did not prevent a play from happening. Did not set up a play we had an advantage for. This ward did nothing. And see, the Vayne's apparently going to be down there anyways for some reason to blow everything. And now, 3 minutes later, the ward is dead. So that setup did nothing. It didn't change any play, didn't set up for any play. This was a really good idea to exhaust early. Rise does a lot of damage. I like how you're using it early there, which means that you're good at using it later. You're just not good at using it whenever you're low leveled. I think that's because you misjudge what peel you have. Might be the difference between chasing and peeling. Now you're walking on the other side of the map again for no reason. If you were with this wave and you got the Vayne to also, well, probably not this wave. I don't think you'd be able to push this wave. Let's look back. Okay. Your job so far, your job right here just ended. You're not going to be able to chase that Lux. You are not. So what happens here, what you do with your time next matters. There are a couple of things you can do. You can go mid and start pushing out this wave so you can get something after, or you can go bottom and start pushing out this wave so you can get something after. Since you saw the Ezreal mid, I would have gone mid and I would have pushed this wave out. I would have pinged the Vayne to come with me, and she probably would do that. See where she is right now? She's just doing this crabs because she doesn't know what the fuck to do. If you had been pushing this wave with the Vayne, look at these death timers. You have 10 to 15 seconds to push this wave, which means you have half of this turret's health, or even more if you could get the rest of your team to come with you. You probably could take that turret, because you would have had this huge wave on this. And if the Zed decided to go up to the top wave, and you guys just walked over and baited Baron, this still would have been a really good setup. Because you see, this is a pretty big wave. This is Baron. Yeah, your wards that you put over here would have been able to get those wards out all the same by just pushing mid wave and walking out this way afterwards. I don't think your Vayne's very bad. I for like what rating I'm expecting her to be, I don't think she's bad. This is unfortunate. As I said, Warwick just was going to outscale the Lee Sin. Being AFK on turret kind of sucks. Probably would have tried to get a ward out over here. I don't think they'd be doing it, but it just would. It's a time that I would be getting a ward out. You need to get a ward out eventually, and you have time now. I don't know what you're doing, but answering a phone call, talking to your girlfriend, whatever. Okay, you walked straight past Baron with 3 wards in your inventory, and you don't ward this. Ward this. Do you know what happens whenever you see 3 people bottom? You ping your fucking team to come do Baron. You sweep it, you put a pink on it. You're pushing a wave by yourself. I don't actually think this is a bad idea. I probably would have even stayed for another wave at this point because there's no way you're really going to make a difference to this fight. You're showing up so fucking late. So I probably would have pushed one more. And now you chase for no reason. Yeah, don't chase blindly. Do you see? For starters, you should have set this up earlier, and this is the right play anyways, to get this Baron. Whenever everyone was bottom after that fight, before that fight, whatever. And this game is really stompy. You may not have felt like it was, but if you look at this goal difference, your team is way up there. Your kills are way up there. And you're taking disadvantaged fights like this chase over here where it was probably a 4v5 and they're working out. Which means at this point, I don't think that a review is that necessary to close out this game. You have Baron, you're probably just going to push down something, get an inhib, and push to win. So to highlight what I think your issues are, awareness from when to go to ward and when to recall. Those are both really important things you should work on. Your flash plays. Don't always be looking for the flash play. Try to put into your thought process, what am I going to get after with this? You don't just want kills. You want to make sure your team can respond immediately and you can get an objective afterwards. Sometimes the objective, if you kill them like level 2, like if you manage to get this, as I said, I probably was misreading it and that probably was a really good play. But you were able to get an XP lead and an item lead if you did this, which is great. That's fine. But mid-game, it's not going to have as much of an impact to just get kills. Early game, getting kills can change a lot because then it just snowballs. It's kind of like time value of money. If you invest money early, you have a lot more money later. So getting this play level 2 is different from getting this play level 11. And you also do that up here, like what I said with the Lux. There was no reason for you to flash because then you had to walk away. And that proves that you did it too early. So try to rethink how often you do that. Think about what you can get after, and can you set up a better play by saving it? Because as I said, you could have zoned out with your Q over here. You could have taken the tower and then dove afterwards with no tower to threaten you from taking the second kill. Um, and yeah, so those are two things: the awareness and the flash Qs. Uh, Third thing, you still kind of wander on the wrong side of the map, and that's from like whenever you were coming down to set up for the Akali. As soon as Baron's up, this is your priority. Now you can drop wards to help for split pushing. That's sometimes fine. But they also have trinkets and they also have their own wards, and they should be able to set up for themselves. And they did. They had a setup ward here and a setup ward here, which means that there was effectively protection for them already. The ward that you put down over here was only to control Dragon, and if you're thinking about Dragon as important, then refer to my entire like rant last time, and then remember like Baron is way more important than that, and you were ignoring it. From just whenever you walked by at like 25 minutes to like whenever you decided to go down at 20 minutes instead of up to Baron, you're really not prioritizing the correct side of the map. Uh, for like another thing, you're chasing. You chase this kill down over here, and I told you should have been thinking about going to push mid lane or going to push bot lane. You need to be thinking about what you can contribute as soon as possible. If you're not needed to chase a kill down and your only concern is I want an assist, you're not doing the right thing. Think about what you can do to set up for a potential play. A chance at a play is better than I want an assist. So they might have been able to stop your push mid. In fact, there's probably a pretty high chance. But if you don't try, then there's no reason to even chase this kill because you're apparently not going to do anything with the gold later. You're not trying to set up plays later. So flash Qs, you've got your awareness, you've got your wrong side of the map, and thinking about what you should be doing as soon as a fight ends. Ideally, you should know what you want to do before the fight even starts, but sometimes you are able to contribute less based off of your health and where your team is and stuff like that after the fight happens. So after a fight, reassess and think about what you can do to contribute. You don't need to chase that down. You are not going to be there in time. Overall, I think that your wave management where you went to push top lane, I think that was good. I would have done that too. It was going to crash on you guys. The fight over here with Teemo, I would have probably gone in on the Teemo. I probably would have died, but you know, it's hard to judge this fight in hindsight. The because yeah, I wouldn't have had this knowledge in game. And let's see. Yeah, you passed Baron without warding it that one time. Your pink ward placement, I would have just put it over here instead. I think that's everything I found this game. Your positioning thing isn't okay. Tank. Yeah, I don't think that that's like a tank build. That's like an off tank build, and that's fine. They had a lot of magic damage to be building that. It's totally reasonable. I don't know if you were going into Spirit Visage or something else. I probably would have looked to instead get like a Banshees because that would have stopped the Lux from rooting you and Warwick from ulting you. It would have given you more room to spell shield someone. If you're also trying to build tank as a support, you should be looking for a Locket as one of your earlier items. That would not only be giving you the magic resist that you wanted, but also something for your team. I think that Locket still gives magic resist. Did they change that? Yeah, okay. Shows you how much I pay attention to support tank items. But yeah, this isn't bad. The Mercs I agree with. The Zhonya's I agree with. The Sightstone I probably would have built earlier, but as I said, I don't know how many opportunities you would have had to ward. The Vayne didn't step off the wave like at all this game, so I think that you would have had trouble trying to ward that. You had one excellent roam. I just want to point that out again. That was a really good roam. Try and think about what you did right here and make sure you can repeat this. What you did right was knowing the wave was going to come into the turret, so there was no way that you were going to be required down here. Your Vayne was full health, and you were going to be at this wave way before the Vayne. Yeah. Um, I think that overall you did fine, and you do end up winning this game. I just know it. There's no way with this kind of goal difference, and yeah. So I think overall it's fine. Definitely look at those. I think I pointed out like 5 things. The most important of which is the awareness and the saving of your flash, because those can change the game pretty drastically. Um, and beyond that, those are other smaller things to. If you can also work on those, then they're worth working on. But the main things are the first two, the biggest things. All right, well that's where I'm gonna stop this.